At the library, we like to explain early literacy in terms of practices. So that means active things that you're going to be doing alongside with other family members, which have to do with language and which make those foundations for all those great skills that we were talking about. So there are 5 practices that we're going to touch on today. The first skill, or I mean, there's really no order to them. In fact, they all work quite seamlessly together. So sometimes we may be talking about an activity, it's going to hit on several of these practices at once. They're all intertwined. Talking is a huge one. I know it seems obvious, but your child with that plasticky brain is really absorbing language from all around the environment. And you, as a trusted caregiver, is one of the main sources. So a lot of folks, when they first have a new baby in their life, of course, they are talking to the baby. And we encourage that as much as possible. As you're going about your day, you're talking, and that's reinforcing. Now they're listening more than you know. So it's important to expand your language in order to help build the understanding in the child. So, for example, you can be narrating or saying aloud the types of things that you are doing throughout the day and your thought processes, how you get there, and also expanding on what your child is saying. So here's an example. Let's say that you are on the bus and you're on your way somewhere. You can be talking to your child as you go. It doesn't matter how young the child is. Oh, look, there we go. Past all these houses. And the child might come out and say, oh, they see a dog, and they'll say doggy. And you could always expand on that and say, yeah, that was a big black furry dog, for example. Or you can be talking about, let's say, pets that you know, something that connects to what you are seeing around you, or things that involve your child's life and personal experiences. It's a great one with talking in combination with reading. So let's say that you complete a book, you read a book together, and there is a topic such as animals, and then you're able to expand on what you read and talk about your child's experiences with animals. You can tell them some of your experiences. And like you say, expanding on what they say and reinforcing that it's great to have a conversation. It's really interesting what they say. This is also a way to introduce more vocabulary. Even very young children can pick up vocabulary at an amazing rate. So you don't need to simplify your language, because if you talk about something specifically with a vocabulary word, they're going to learn that word just as they would learn a simple word. So the more that you speak to your child, the better language skills they're going to come out with, which is, it's pretty direct. Seems like common sense, but they've done studies where they are recording a caregiver throughout the day, and there's a direct correlation with how many new words, vocabulary words, and how many words are spoken throughout the day with the child's language fluency. A lot of people ask library staff about speaking in their home language. And it used to be that professionals would encourage families to only speak in English so the child could learn English. The thinking has changed on that. And so we really encourage the talking to be in your home language as well as English, or even just your own language. That basis of language development is laid regardless of the language, and the child is going to hear English in a lot of other environments, such as television, preschool, school, the neighborhood, and activities. As I mentioned, using new words, so different vocabulary words. And you don't need to simplify your language, but you can vary your pitch and tone and use lots of expression. Children are going to be seeing the face, and you can be connecting that to the different words that you are saying. And you can always speak a little bit more slowly and clearly, just so that they hear all of the sounds that make up words. As we talked about, going back and forth, speaking to each other and taking turns is a great thing to model, and it's going to make your conversations that much more interesting and invite so much more language, and it's engaging your child. Your child, no matter what you're doing, your child just wants to be with you. And so all the best learning is going to happen when you're actively engaged with your child. So we talked about expanding on what they're saying and asking more questions and connecting to your child's own life and experiences. Singing is a wonderful one that we really emphasize at the library, and I think it comes very naturally to parents and caregivers when they are with a young child. Again, can be in English. Maybe there's songs from your home language as well that you'd like to sing. A lot of people are nervous about singing with their child, and I understand that, but just know that your voice is the most important thing that your child is going to want to listen to, and your child will always think that your voice and your singing is magical. So don't let that stop you. Don't let it stop you if you don't know a lot of songs, because there's a lot of places where you can go to learn songs. We have books at the library about it. We have videos with staff singing songs. There's obviously lots of videos and songs around on the internet. We've got CDs with children's music that you can use. And I find once you know a few simple tunes, you can change the words to whatever you're talking about. And again, nobody has to listen to this singing except your child. So like, trust me, they're not judging you. Go forth, let your voice be free, sing along with your child. What happens when we sing is that the language slows down. And so they can hear all of those phonemes, which are the sounds that they're learning. They can be hearing things like rhyme, which is huge in songs, and it's a big part of playing with language. And it helps children's listening skills, and it is so engaging to them. If there's something that you are trying to get across, or let's say there's a transition that's tricky, as they tend to be the most tricky with young children, try introducing a song. And I think that you'll find that it changes the child's attention away from, maybe resisting that. It's going to engage them and get their attention, as well as make those transitions easier, especially if you use a song that's the same or similar at different times of day. Let's say getting dressed to go outside, or using the potty, any of those that can be troublesome. If you introduce a little song and you always reinforce it with that song, the child knows what to expect, and it makes it fun and interesting for the child. Singing also has rhythm. So of course, children are going to hear the way that we break up the song, words into syllables, and doing things along like clapping or shaking a shaker is going to help to improve their motor skills. And as I mentioned, capturing your child's attention, calming them down. These are all great strategies to try at home or out and about with your child. Of course, reading is every librarian's favorite practice, and it is so important with your child. Doesn't matter what age, even babies, you want to start getting in the routine of involving reading and books into your daily life. So every day you can be engaged in reading with your child. It could be part of a routine, such as bedtime. There's a reason why the bedtime story is a bit of a cliche. It's because, hey, it works great. If that's the time where you can snuggle up together and enjoy a book, then they're going to look forward to that, and they're going to know what else is coming in that routine. The main thing is to make the reading together fun, engaging, and to reinforce that it is a good time that your child is going to want to do. So letting them have some choice in that matter is important because they're going to be more engaged with something that they're interested in. Trust me, they're going to want the same story over and over and over. They don't have the same need for the novelty that adults have. It has to do with building those brain pathways. So you may be reading that favorite book quite a lot of times, and that is normal, and that is positive, and it helps them to understand. So you can snuggle up, or maybe you're on the bus and you've got a favorite book in the bag. Wherever you are, make reading time a fun time. You can point out the words as you're reading them so that eventually your child's going to start recognizing letters, as well as knowing how words are on the page, left to right. All these things you can model. You know, we take it for granted as adults, but even how to read a book or how to look at a book is a new skill that they're learning. So let them help you to turn the page. Take a look at the cover. You can talk about the spine of the book and how to put the book on the shelf. And if the child isn't engaged at that moment, it's okay to stop and try again later, because it makes it positive. Just to sort of force them to sit till the end of the book, it might not reinforce that reading is a positive and fun activity that way. There's all sorts of different books too that are fun to try. So for a toddler, something like a board book that's quite sturdy is a great option. They have books that are made of fabric. They have books that are made of plastic for the bathtub. They have books on attachable strings that go onto your diaper bag or your stroller. We've got big books at the library that are huge and they're super fun to read. We mentioned the books that are ebooks and slightly animated that they can watch or listen to. Audiobooks are great for children. You can turn that on before bedtime or in the car, and it's a positive activity that they can engage in even without your help once they learn how to work it. It's a great way to involve even more language and vocabulary by introducing all these different types and formats of reading or listening to books. Now, writing is one that especially parents and caregivers of babies find a little bit challenging to incorporate, but there are ways to incorporate writing even indirectly and even for very young children. Now, drawing is very similar to writing, and it's that idea of making a gesture and having that gesture recorded there on the paper. So even if it's just a scribble, talking to them about what they're drawing or thinking when they're doing that, you can get some information. You can connect it in with the talking skill and maybe have a little discussion or ask questions, even make up a story and respond back and forth. So once they're able to, grab anything that will make a mark, you can be experimenting with that. So something like finger paint, again, it's a cliche because it's great for preschoolers to be able to get a little bit messy and make those gestures and make their mark on a paper. Of course, crayons, markers, pens, all those different things, chalk. We even had some special crayons that wrote on the side of the bathtub. So wherever you can incorporate indoor, outdoor, making that mark, drawing a picture, it's great, and it helps them to practice their fine motor that they will need eventually for printing. When we talk about writing for young children, even just recognizing letters or the idea that a picture of something symbolizes something else and maybe goes in a pattern is quite abstract, but it's something that is going to build that capacity for them. So putting blocks in a pattern, playing with letters that are fridge magnets, or that are toys. All of those type of things motivate them to experiment and create their own words. And you always encourage whatever they're scribbling, drawing, writing. You can also demonstrate writing yourself. So they've done a drawing, and then you can say, oh, that's a great drawing. Can you tell me about what's happening in the drawing? Because I'm going to write it down so that when the other family member comes home, they can read it and they'll know what your drawing is about. Just to get them a little bit more used to the idea of what is writing, what does it do, how to use it to communicate. So you can label that on their drawing. A lot of folks also like to label things around the household with the words that they are, or have a word jar or word wall where they are starting to play with letters, sounds, words. Now, this is, I'm sure, every child's favorite practice, and it is playing. As adults, we forget the importance of play and the learning and creativity that it can spark. And that's one of the amazing things about being a parent or caregiver of a young child, is that you get to be reminded of the power of play. I recommend, anyone listening out there to try and incorporate play into your day, whether you're with a child or not. Now, play is not only fun for children, it is essential. Playing is the main way that they learn and that they do develop those skills in their brain development. And basically what we're going to talk about as far as playing is how do we introduce more language and take advantage of those opportunities during play in order to make that language rich environment that's going to help them have a great foundation for later reading and learning. So in play allows you to practice and act out real life situations, and gives a safe place to practice out different emotions or communication styles, fears, and imagination and problem solving can all be done through play. Now, you don't need any specific toys or fancy equipment to play. Children will get creative with almost anything that's out there. Playing outdoors, there's all sorts of things to pick up and try, and just having some things like a shovel and a bucket, could even be a yogurt container. They can be putting things into it. You can talk to them about what they're collecting or what they're building. They can be using blocks to build, or maybe they have a towel and that they can make that into a cape. All of those great low cost, high imagination experiences are perfect for play. Now, play is one that works really well with talking. So let's say you're playing a little game, you're rolling a ball back and forth. Well, maybe you can add some language rich opportunity in there by saying, I'm going to roll the ball to you and I'm going to say a word. And then when you roll it back to me, you say a rhyming word or a word that has the same sound, beginning sound. You can play pretend is obviously a great way to talk and imagine. Some children really love to act out the scenes in a book, their favorite book that you've read. Remember, you've read that one 25,000 times? Well, let's take it into the playroom and get some little dress up and play, or get some toys and use it for the plot. And all these types of play develop their oral language skills, and they can practice putting thoughts into words as they play that way. Now, another one that is really great for kids is the loose parts play. So creating something out of odds and ends found around the house, craft supplies, and just going wild with the imagination. Not telling the child step by step, this is how we're going to make this particular craft today, but gathering together a bunch of materials and what should we make or build, and then bring it into our play. So those are our 5 practices in review: talking, singing, reading, writing, and playing. Try to make time for all of those activities throughout your day, as well as looking for those opportunities to add a little bit more language into your environment, and practicing words and all of those amazing things. Thanks for listening today, and I hope to see you in a ranch or out in a community sometime soon. Thank you so much.